So I have three after. So we'll go ahead and get started. Want to let you guys know I'm here all by myself today. Normally I have Kaylee and generally we'll have another speaker as well. So I get to sit back and relax. But today I got to do everything. So I'm letting people in and also now got to introduce myself. So my name is Bill Moore. If you don't know who I am, I'm the executive director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, as well as I've worked for all these different companies in the last long time, about 49 years, as well as had multiple different concepts of hot dog cart, hot dog trailer. We had a little boat we did in the Virgin Islands, and our food trailer that we still have today, Food Truck 101. Written 4 books, 5 if you count the little workbook that goes with Food Truck 101. You guys already know me as a part of the food truck training group. I can't even read the words. And hopefully you guys also know me as the voice of the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast, which that reminds me I got to put one out today. I missed my deadline this morning. Anyway, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, we're at Austin, Texas at the Food Truck Owners Expo, and we all met in Barton Springs, this little food truck court there, and we're eating at Eggman ATX. He has 3 operational food trucks and a ghost kitchen. So we met at the one that was super, super close to the Palmer Event Center where FTO was being held. And a lot of you guys met us there as well. Ordered food. Richard paid for all the food. We got to talk and meet a whole bunch of people. There's Kaylee, one of the new members. That's one of the employees there passing out food. And you can't really tell, but that cup is branded. So it has Richard's logo on it. It's not a sticker. He has those imprinted for his iced coffee and also his orange juice, which is fresh squeezed daily. And there's one of their shots from inside. He gave us a nice little tour of his operational food truck. He also sells merchandise. That's coffee there on the left-hand side that's packaged for him, done to his specifications on how long it's roasted and that type of thing. And that's the exact same coffee you're buying off his food truck. And of course, he packages it and sells it as well. And there I am showing off his wonderful coffee. I love his coffee. It's very strong coffee for sure. He says it's what people would get from New York City. And there's Adam and Richard and myself just talking about the business. Once 8 o'clock rolled around, we all jumped in our cars and drove that long 0.6 of a mile to the Palmer Event Center, where at 9 o'clock I gave this class. And it was developing a menu that makes sense. Now, this is Richard's actual menu from Eggman ATX. I took this particular photograph earlier this year, I believe in March. But I wanted to use him as an example of what a good menu looks like. If you'll notice, he's only got a few things on there. If you're able to read the details, all of those are a variation of meat, egg, and cheese on a bun. And that's it. And you got the drinks and upgrades and stuff listed there at the bottom and how to customize it. But it's a very simple ordering process. So a menu has to do 4 jobs at once. It has to sell fast. That's why we say small menu. The longer the guest takes to read, the longer it takes for them to order. Because people typically don't think ahead as much as we would hope that they do. They don't read the menu until it's their turn to place the order. The menu has to make money. As you can see, he has the basic, which is just egg and cheese on a bun. Now, it is 2 eggs, and it is 2 pieces of cheese, so it's a nice egg sandwich with cheese on it, and it's also got a sauce, $7.89 in Austin, Texas. And then as you add on meats, it becomes a little bit more expensive. So the menu is designed to make money. His most popular product, the one you see that has a little kind of goldish color bar beside it, the Bodega Classic. When he and I go through his sales numbers, that is by far his best seller, which is egg and cheese, but it's got bacon on it, and it's a whole bunch of bacon. And I believe the food cost on that for his pricing is, I want to say it's it's 24, 25, somewhere right where we recommend. So that means his most popular products is costing him 25 cents on the dollar. It has to fit the food truck. His whole brand is Queen style breakfast, the bodega breakfast from New York City being in Texas. And it's built around the brand. The menu tells the guest who you are without confusing them. When somebody sells tacos and pasta and hamburgers and pizza, the guest is confused. And that just doesn't work. A menu that makes sense is designed long before it's ever printed. And what I mean by designed is it matches all these criteria. The sell fast, to make money, to fit the food truck, and to build the brand. Now, here's something that also is in that presentation. And this is kind of a behind the scenes thing. This particular photograph I took at a food truck builder. And in my presentation, I talk about do not do this because, as you can see, number one, it's cartoon images of food. Number two, it's a whole bunch of food choices. And this is plastered on the side of their food truck, which means they're committed to that menu pretty much forever because it's not a sticker, it is their wrap. Because they have that unique aqua kind of color that you can see beside those two. So I'm telling people in this class, I had about 90 or so people in that classroom, and I'm saying, don't do this. So now, as Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story. We're driving, we're about a mile or so from our hotel, going to eat dinner at a barbecue place called Cooper's. So there's Adam, there's me, there's Marina, who is our photographer and our videographer, and then Kaylee, that you guys may remember on all of our other meetings from this year. We're driving along, and I gasp as I look out the window because that color is very unique. And guess what? That menu is right there. This is a brick and mortar image to look like a food truck because that's where they started. The company has been in existence since 2008. So they're allowed to have a big menu because they've had whatever the math is on that from 2008 to 2026. So we're talking 18 years to grow into that menu. I didn't know that they had a brick and mortar in Austin, Texas until we're driving by it. The next presentation that I gave is called Why Food Vendors Can't Afford to Stand Alone Anymore. This was at 1:30 in the afternoon on the first day. So I had to leave our booth and then go give this presentation. That particular photograph, I'm going to reference again later, was taken in Houston, Texas in 2024. For a reason, the math stops mathing when you're alone. You feel like everything's a patchwork because you have to have a permit for here and then a permit for the next county and the next city, and it's confusing. There are cities that don't even know how to permit food trucks today. I dealt with this in the 1980s and thought, well, surely by now every city knows how to give a permit to a food truck. Well, I just found out that there's a city in Massachusetts that, depending upon which department you go to, gives you two different paths to get properly permitted, and the paths don't intersect. So you end up with a whole set of permits that may not cover everything you need. So that patchwork is still a problem. Then there's a trust problem. And this comes from two different sides. Us as food vendors, we see a whole bunch of people doing things illegally. And it really gets us upset because we tried really hard to be legal. And now we see people that are advertising on Facebook and not disclosing where they're cooking out of, and we know full well it's their own home kitchen, not giving any kind of identifiable information other than, here's a link to pay me and then I'll give you your food. Those are problems. The other side being that health departments have to deal with illegal vendors so much that a lot of them don't want to deal with it. When I was in Seattle, Washington, they shared a story of being spit on, have guns pulled, knives pulled, because they're trying to shut down someone that's illegal. And the problem is when the codes are written, the politicians didn't give teeth to those codes. So we slap them on the wrist. Hey, you got to shut down, but we can't call the police, or the health department can't call the police because they're not breaking something that's criminal. They're breaking something that's civil. Civil laws and rules have monetary penalties, but if the person's already illegal, it's going to be really hard to pin them down to collect up some type of fee or fine, rather. The other problem is numbers problems. I'm actually have been talking with somebody all day today about how to do a catering and getting them to understand what's all involved in doing a catering so that they can make money. There are so many different people out there that say, this is how you do food costs, or they may never discuss what break even means, or they may not talk about the whole picture as far as the menu and the menu discipline that we talked about a few seconds ago. And then, of course, you don't have anybody checking over your shoulder saying, hey, there's a different way to do that, or there's a better way to do it. One of the hot dog people I worked with a number of years ago asked me, would you please act like you're my boss? Because he could only get work done if he felt like he was responsible to somebody else. It didn't matter to him that he's not able to feed the family if he doesn't get out there and sells, or sells as much as he could. What mattered to him more was somebody telling him, hey, you're doing this either right or wrong. He needed that authority figure above him. And there are people like that that need that accountability partner just to hold them responsible. I worked with a lemonade guy out in California. We talked every week for 20 weeks in a row, so he could tell me what process he was making towards that lemonade stand. Because he said, if I don't talk to you every week, I'm not going to get anything done. Then there's a leverage problem. When we recognize any of these issues and we try to make changes to help the industry or to help the government get things better, the government only pays attention to groups, not individuals. So I explained why vendors need to be unified. It's simple: clarity, focus, community, and influence. So clarity and strength, it's a unified message. So when you get 5 or 10 food truck owners together and they all are saying the same thing, that carries way more weight than 10 individuals that talk similarly but don't say the exact same thing. Now you just have noise in a meeting. There's that focus, agreement on key issues, because there's some things that'll be super important to me that don't matter to anybody else. But when we all talk about the things that matter to the majority of food truck owners, now we're focused and we start to make changes in the industry or in the law sets that we have to deal with, the permitting process. We have to have that community. Every week we have group coaching where people sit down and talk about what's going on in their community or in their business or just in the industry in general. I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone, because together we can make a difference in your business as well as in the industry. And then there's that influence that I've mentioned. Officials act on organized, unified groups. There was somebody that tried to post something on our Facebook group today, a petition. Petitions are effectively useless. The reason that they're useless is because you can go on the internet and sign it, which means people can go on the internet and fake a signature. No one verifies that if there's 1,000 signatures, that all 1,000 of them are legitimate human beings and not one guy that signed it 20 times under 20 different emails. So you have to understand where the influence comes from. Petitions make you feel really good, but politicians don't care at all. Oops, went fast. After we got done with that presentation, we spent a few more hours out on the floor, and then we went to Terry Black's, which is directly across the street from the Palmer Event Center. At least one of his restaurants is. They sell really, really good barbecue. Now, the rest of the story to this particular one, I don't have a picture of it. Adam, Kaylee, Marina, and I went, and Richard said he would meet us there. So we go through the line, get our food, and that is our food there that you see in the picture. And Richard says, "Hey, I'm almost there." And he comes in, and I see him getting his food. So I sent him a text message to say where we were at within the restaurant. And he sends one back saying, "Oh, it's okay. I already saw you from your hair." So apparently I'm just a big matchstick that looks burnt on the top in my really, really long hair that I have pulled back right now. But he noticed that, not that, "Hey, Bill, you're the tallest dude." It's, "Oh, I noticed you're from your hair." Wednesday, 8:30. We drove into the event center. We picked up a passenger. Her name is Ray O'Day. She is the executive director of NICA, which is the National Independent Concessionaires Association. So the people that do the fair and festival circuit, essentially, and they represent more than food vendors. They do the gamers and anybody that would set up at a fair or festival. So she and I talked. There she is. She and I talked for pretty long time, actually, until I had to go give a class or a presentation, rather. And we were talking about ways that we overlap as organizations and the ways that we don't. They're not as focused on changing rules and regulations as I am, because they're just accustomed to it. You go from state to state and they just deal with it. Because they also tend to work under temporary permits, which are typically easier to get. Whereas we don't. We're open maybe 300 days a year, maybe 200 days a year, and we're in the same small geographic area. So we're dealing with multiple permits, but not going state to state like they are. And we're certainly not doing very many temporary permits. So we had a nice conversation, and she gave me homework. She asked me to list where we duplicate each other and where we don't duplicate each other, so we can figure out a way to work together. Their organization is about 30 years old, I believe, 25 or 30 years old. And they've got roughly 1,000, 1,200 members, somewhere in that range. But because of their longevity, as well as their number of members, they're able to get better discounts. And then also they're able to do things like national accounts with Cisco and Coca-Cola. National accounts do a couple of things. It increases the buying volume, the buying power, so you get better discounts. So their members are able to log in to their Cisco ordering page and then place the order through NICA's account, and then it gets delivered locally. It's not unlike how a franchise system is. Although most franchises now actually have their own branded system, but it's still being ran by somebody else. That's why when you look at, like, King Provision does Burger King, so it's all branded trailers and stuff, but overall it's still ran by a bigger distribution organization. At 9:55, I had to go give a presentation as a part of a panel. So we were there, as well as a gentleman from a local commissary. He has several commissaries in Austin, Texas, as well as the executive director of the food corridor and the kitchen door. The kitchen door is something you guys may want to jot down. The kitchen door is a website you can go to find local commissaries or shared kitchens. They all are ran independently, so they've got different price structures, but at least it's a place to start to see if there is a legitimate commissary in your area. So we gave a presentation on getting food truck owners to understand that commissaries and shared kitchens and whatever it's called in your state are not just a piece of paperwork to go through, because they can be big partners. I mentioned that Eggman, he has a ghost kitchen. The ghost kitchen is a commissary. And we toured Adam and I toured it. Richard took us through a personal tour, and it's a huge facility. I mean, we're talking probably 30 individualized cooking kitchen units, as well as units that are set up to be ghost kitchens where they have pickup windows and they can hand food out through a pickup window. They have like 9 or 10 of those. They have their own loading dock for Cisco just to back in the trailer, and they're able to order through the commissary and then have it delivered there. And then the commissary loads the stuff up for them, puts it in the freezer or the refrigerator or wherever their storage is, and then puts the invoice in their little file cabinet for the individual food trucks to pick up and make sure they got what they're supposed to get. Very neat system. That's a partner because they're doing work for you on your behalf that Richard didn't have to be there to unload any of those trucks or any of his employees. Whenever the truck shows up, the commissary people are unloading it and putting it away. And they have, at this particular commissary, they have a dining area where you could do a catering. So if somebody calls you up and says, hey, I want to do a catering, well, I've got a venue for you. And it was fairly nice. So commissaries go beyond just being a place where you do the water exchange. And that's what we all talked about, is how they can be a growth partner. Richard is doing quite well with the ghost kitchen. There's room for improvement, and he knows that. But he's going to continue to do that same type of business model. So it's not a one and done kind of thing. So my part of the presentation, I talked about the capacity you don't own. I mentioned that Richard has freezer space, refrigeration space, and dry storage space. He doesn't have to own that stuff. All he's got to do is rent it. You have a built-in network. They actually talked about referrals and how they help Richard to get more business. And it does go for every commissary that's out there. Because people come to them looking for the catering. Hey, can you recommend somebody? Because it's a big kitchen. Or they hear of deals from other, food vendors, even restaurants that talk about doing events, and they can give you some guidance. So it's a built-in network that already has experience in our industry. And then, like I said, aligned to better events, and then it's credibility because now you're doing what the health department requires. Richard pays a bunch of money for everything that he does in that commissary, and he has no problem paying it. Then the next presentation I went to was with Justin. We did a panel, and for some reason I have 0 photographs of that particular conversation. So this is one, I want to say, from last year in Las Vegas. We were talking. And these are by far the most fun things that I do because it's a room full of people and they're asking us questions. Sometimes they would ask us questions specific to food truck building because that's what Justin does. Sometimes they'll ask just generic business questions, which usually I'll let Justin answer because he has a different perspective on how businesses are ran. And then when it's food truck specific, then I'll chime in or he'll let me continue his thought process because my experience is only in food service. And then, of course, when people ask something specific about a food truck, food trailer, or a hot dog cart, then I'm going to answer it. And we do have a fantastic time. The first time we gave one was in Orlando in 2024, and they actually had to come and tell us it's time to stop because we lost track of time. People were asking us questions, and we were just having fun. They came in and they needed the backdrop that you can see there in the corner behind us to take it to another room that they had set up for a different presentation. So they came and took our backdrop, but that was a whole bunch of fun. I really look forward to those because I don't have to prepare. All I got to do is just answer questions. And it's fun. Then I gave at 1:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday, marketing the off season. This one was not as popular as I thought it would be. We had, I don't know, maybe 20 people, 25 people in a huge room. So lots of space. But I talked about 3 different steps. And I'm going to share those steps with you. You got to understand there is an off-season gap, and it's real for everybody. Some people just close, some people just fall short. So what we got to figure out is, what's the peak month look like? In this case, we got an example of $28,000. Then we got to think about, what's that off-season month look like? What's the slow month going to be? So in this case, it's half. They lost half of their sales volume in that slow month. But the next important number is, where's their break even? So in this case, being open, they are 4,000 shy of breaking even. Now remember, in my world, I teach people that break even means you're also getting paid yourself. So that means we're 4,000 short of paying all the bills and paying ourselves. That's a problem. So where does that money come from? Ideally, it's not a winter problem. It's a math problem. And that $4,000 shortfall, we got to figure out where to get it from. So I tell people, when you have those busy months and you know it's going to be busy, you need to be setting money aside for those slow months. So then you're able to still have profitability and still also pay all the bills. Not a bad scenario. But you got to think about, how can we improve on that so we can get it up to that break-even point? Because that is attainable. You just have to market and do things a little bit different. There's still people eating, even in the winter, even when it's frigidly cold, or in the summer when it's burning hot. Guess what? People are still eating. There's office workers, factory workers, hospitals, schools, breweries. There are people eating. So you just got to be where the people are that are hungry. You got to plan ahead. You want to really talk about and talk to corporate administrators, wedding planners, holiday party hosts. You got to let people know that, hey, we're available to do more than just set up a food truck, because I can cook anything y'all want. So you can get those catering gigs. You've already got loyal people as well. I found this out right before Austin. Richard has 10,000 people on his email list that actively signed up for his email. So that's people that he could market to. And I want to show you how good that marketing is. Don't have a picture of this, but we kind of discovered this by accident. And I'll talk about how we discovered it in a little bit. But he just opened a new food truck. It's been open, I want to say, only 3 months. And we were looking at the number of reviews that he has, 306. So he's getting 100 reviews a month. A lot of that's coming from an active email list that, number one, knew he opened a new food truck, and they happened to be in the area where that food truck was. So he's gotten them to help review that brand new food truck. So that email list is super important. Private groups. Could be a Facebook group, could be a local page. And then, of course, you have VIPs, people that are loyal to you. We talk about raving fans. That's what a VIP would be. Somebody that's going to talk about you and defend you. And those people still need convenience of all of those I talked about. Plus, there's people out there that don't want to prep their own meals, but they also don't want to go stand in the cold. You can create family packs. You can have people pick up orders where you deliver it out to their car and they don't have to set foot in the cold or the rain or the wind. You can do catering trays. There's one food truck owner in Austin, not Austin, he's in Houston, that does barbecue. And he has, on any given weekend, between 9 to 11 to even 15 sometimes, drop off caterings that they order the food. He gives them, those disposable pans, and he drops it off to different places. That's his food truck business. But what he does in the November and December months, when it's a little bit slower and people aren't doing those kind of drop-offs as frequently, he just starts doing smoked turkeys and the full meal. So now you can order a turkey from him. I've talked to him several times in November where he's got, 20, 30, 40, 50 turkeys smoking. And so as soon as these get done, I got to do another 20, 30, 40, 50. He's had as many as 150 orders for smoked turkey where he's prepared everything. And they are not cheap because he's doing all the sides and all the desserts, and he does drinks and that kind of stuff. So it's literally come pick up the turkey, take it home, and you're cooking, or your meal is ready for Thanksgiving. You can do the exact same thing. Just whatever fits within your particular abilities as a cook. And then the question is, which one of these people already trust you? And I feel like I'm giving a whole class. We're already 34 minutes. Let me go faster. Build seasonal offers, not just random specials. People think that when it's slow, let's give away the farm. That doesn't help. Party catering, you can do that, especially in December, late November, December. So holiday tray, staff lunches, private parties, the meal packs, the family packs that we talked about. Indoor pop-ups. You can create your own catering. It doesn't have to be an official. I've got 30 people coming. You can go set up somewhere indoors and sell. If you have ways to keep the food hot, cook it on the food truck, bring it indoors, do fundraisers. And of course, giftable merchandise. We talked about Richard and the stuff he had. You can do gift cards. That's money you get today, but you don't have to give the food away until in the future. All righty. This is one of the banners they put up at FTO. As you can see, I signed it, and they try to get everybody to sign it. But what I wanted to point out is I am the only person that's been to every one of these events. Media Day in Houston, the actual Houston Food Truck Owners Expo, Orlando's Media Day, and then Orlando's Food Truck Owner Expo, Las Vegas, New Jersey, and Austin's main events, as well as Nashville and Seattle small local events. I've done them all. May end up having to do some next year as well, some small ones. I want to come educate people. I've already had people volunteer facilities for me to come and talk. We just get together and get 15, 20, 30 people and have that educational and camaraderie session, because those are so important. That's what any kind of gathering is. It's a way for you to network with other people, other food truck owners, and then other people that provide services that you may need or want to learn about. Let's talk about the National Street Food Vendors Association. If you choose to be a member, there's a QR code to take you to our Join Now page. We have weekly live mini classes. I do a much better job of keeping them at 30 minutes. We do 2 group coaching sessions every single week, Tuesdays, 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock. A lot of people join them both. Some people only join one or the other. The idea is that we help each other get to be better, and I'm at all of those. We have a resource library. It's got contracts and spreadsheets and all kinds of stuff to help members become successful. Masterclass series, 30 hours of video. We've got a marketing course. It's got 8 or 12 hours of video. I can't remember. You get e-versions of Food Truck 101 and 201. And then coming soon, I've got member-only event and catering resources to help people be able to get a profitable quote for a catering. To be able to look at an event and go, yes, I should go to it, or no way in the world will this event sustain what I need. Also got coming review-based awards, not the vote for me because we're the best, because those are just ways to generate income for somebody else, not you. You feel good about having won an award that was nothing more than a popularity contest. So if you think about high school, whoever won your president when you were in high school, that's a popularity contest, because they made all kind of promises, most likely didn't keep. And we got local chapters, and as I mentioned, some get-togethers coming soon. And we had fun, as you can tell.